So let me ask you a serious question before we start this video. Did America spend years fighting crypto? Or was America simply waiting until the right moment to control it? Because something very strange is happening in Washington right now. White House is reportedly pushing to get the Clarity Act finalised before the 4th of July 2026. And that date matters because the 4th of July is not just Independence Day, it's America's 250th year anniversary celebration. Now, maybe that's coincidence. But honestly, when you zoom out and look at everything happening underneath the financial system right now, it starts to feel much more deliberate than that. So, in today's video, I want to explore whether we're watching America quietly reposition itself for the next era of global finance, and whether crypto regulation was never really about stopping crypto at all. But before we jump in, if you're new here, my name's Paula. On this channel, we break down the bigger macro stories shaping crypto, finance, and the future financial system in a way that actually makes sense. And if you enjoy these deeper conversations, make sure you subscribe because I think the next few years are going to completely reshape how money moves around the world. Now, the reason this story caught my attention is because for years the relationship between crypto and the United States government looked completely hostile. The SEC sued Ripple, Coinbase spent years battling regulators, projects started leaving the US because nobody knew which assets were securities, which were commodities, or even what rules exchanges were supposed to follow. The entire industry existed in this strange legal grey area where innovation was moving incredibly fast, but regulation seemed permanently stuck behind. And during that time, most people assumed America was simply anti crypto. But what if that wasn't actually true? What if the delay was never about America rejecting crypto? What if it was about waiting until the infrastructure, the institutions, and the political timing were all aligned properly? Because suddenly the tone coming out of Washington has changed dramatically. Patrick Witt, who is executive director of the White House Digital Assets Council, openly said the administration wants the Clarity Act passed before July the 4th and reportedly described it as a tremendous birthday present for America. And honestly, that wording is fascinating. Not a gift for the crypto industry, a gift for America. That changes the framing completely because this no longer sounds like lawmakers reluctantly tolerating crypto. It sounds like America positioning itself to lead the next stage of digital finance. And when you connect that with everything else happening globally right now, the bigger picture starts becoming much clearer. At the same time that this legislation is being rushed forward, stablecoins are quietly exploding in usage around the world. Wall Street firms are increasingly experimenting with tokenized assets and blockchain settlement systems. BlackRock is moving deeper into digital finance infrastructure. Circle continues expanding stablecoin integrations. Even traditional banks that once mocked crypto are now researching how blockchain rails could improve payments and settlement speed. That's the real shift happening underneath the surface. Crypto is slowly moving away from being treated like a speculative side industry and is increasingly being viewed as infrastructure. And infrastructure matters because whoever controls the infrastructure layer of finance usually holds enormous power. America understood that with the dollar reserve system, it understood that with SWIFT, and now blockchain based finance is emerging as another potential infrastructure layer that governments can't afford to ignore, which is why the timing here matters so much. Because the Clarity Act itself is not some smooth bipartisan agreement where everybody's happily aligned. In fact, parts of the legislation nearly collapsed earlier this year because of fierce disagreements around stablecoin yields and the role of banks. And honestly, I think this might be one of the most important parts of the entire story. Banks are deeply concerned about what happens if people can hold digital dollars outside traditional banking systems while also earning a yield on them. Think about that carefully for a second. If consumers eventually become comfortable holding tokenized dollars directly on blockchain networks instead of inside traditional banks, that starts challenging one of the core foundations of the banking system itself. So, this is no longer just crypto versus regulators. Now it's potentially becoming blockchain finance versus traditional banking interests. And that's why the negotiations happening behind closed doors right now are so important. Because this legislation is not simply deciding whether crypto survives, it's deciding who gets to control the future rails of money. Does the SEC maintain dominance over the industry? Does the CFTC gain more control? How much freedom should DeFi protocols have? Should stablecoins compete directly with bank deposits? How much power should private companies have over digital financial infrastructure? These are massive questions. And they're all being debated while the White House pushes towards this very symbolic July the 4th deadline. Now, another layer that makes this story even more interesting is the geopolitical side, because multiple reports suggest the White House believes delay itself is becoming dangerous. Patrick Witt reportedly warned that if America doesn't create clear digital asset rules soon enough, other countries could end up shaping global standards first. And honestly, that concern makes complete sense. China has already spent years developing the digital yuan. Countries across the world are experimenting with tokenized settlement systems and digital currencies. Stablecoins are increasingly moving value across borders faster than traditional systems can. So, if the next generation of financial infrastructure is going to be blockchain based in some form, America cannot afford to sit on the sidelines forever while other countries shape the rules first. And this is where the story starts becoming much bigger than crypto. Because maybe what we're really watching is the beginning of a financial cold war over digital infrastructure. Who controls tokenized liquidity? Who controls settlement? Who controls digital dollars? Who controls the rails that money moves across in the future? Those questions could become incredibly important over the next decade. And suddenly, the idea of America wanting crypto legislation finalised before its 250-year anniversary starts feeling much less random, because symbolism matters in politics. 250 years after America declared independence, the country may now be trying to position itself at the centre of the next evolution of global finance, not by banning crypto, not by destroying it, but by absorbing it into the system on America's terms. That possibility is fascinating because the irony here is incredible. Crypto originally emerged as a rebellion against traditional finance and centralized control. But now the largest financial powers in the world appear to be preparing to integrate parts of that technology directly into the existing system itself. And maybe that was always going to happen eventually. Now, of course, there's also a very real possibility this timeline simply isn't realistic. Reports suggest negotiations are still ongoing daily, and there are major disagreements that still need resolving before anything becomes law. Senate schedules are tight, the political environment is messy, and there's no guarantee lawmakers can actually force this through on time. But in some ways, that almost makes the story even more interesting. Because if this is such a difficult legislative challenge, why are they trying so hard to make this specific deadline work? Why attach crypto regulation to one of the biggest symbolic dates in modern American history? That's the question I keep coming back to. I think the answer may tell us a lot about where governments believe the future financial system is heading. Now, before we finish, in the Crypto Wolf Pack, we've made multiple free courses for you guys to improve your knowledge base. One of them is all around the strategies we use to make money in both the bull market and the bear market. It's completely free. It's called the Crypto Liftoff course. We've also been exploring in the Crypto Wolf Pack automations and automation trading, and again, we've made you a completely free course. If you're interested in joining the Crypto Wolf Pack community, or if you're interested in improving your knowledge, go and access the free courses we've made for you. Simply go to cryptowolfpack.co.uk or use the link in the description of this video. Now, I want to leave you with one final thought. What if crypto regulation wasn't delayed because America feared crypto? What if it was delayed until America was ready to lead the next financial era itself? Let me know what you think in the comments below, because honestly, I think the next few years are going to reveal a lot about who really controls the future of money. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe because we've got some very big conversations coming up next around stablecoins, tokenisation, and how governments may be quietly reshaping the financial system underneath the surface. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.